Rams house. Welcome into a brand new episode of the Rams Report presented by Prize Picks. Today, guys, we're going back to the rumor mill for a rumor that's kind of new, but is also kind of resurfacing. A.J. Brown once again being connected to the Rams by a major NFL insider. We're going to talk about what he said, and then we're going to talk about a couple of possible trade packages the Rams could put together for A.J. Brown. But before we do all that, let me know, guys, in the comments below, do we even want A.J. Brown? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. Sound off for me in the comment section below. Does the Ramily want the Rams to trade for A.J. Brown? Even if we're going to go through a bunch of different trade packages, but just think about, do you want A.J. Brown on the Rams? Even if, regardless of what we were going to give up, do you want him as part of this team? Let me know in the comments below. And let's hear from NFL insider Mike Garafolo. Here's what he had to say. That was really close, referring to the Rams trading for A.J. Brown. It was closer than it got with the Patriots. That was really close. There was one point where overnight it sort of died. It was like late one night. This could be going down by the next morning. You know what? There's actually too many moving parts here. And then he continued, I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams reemerge. I would not be surprised if the Rams at some point reengage and check in. And he, referring to Howie Roseman, checks in with them. This story, guys, has been persistent around this team over the last couple of months. It just kind of won't go away. It reminds me, and I tweeted this recently, of the way the rumors around Ty Simpson persisted around this team throughout the pre-draft process. And I, in response to that, when that came up, when that came around, for those of you who are long-term viewers, I ignored it. I said, you know what? This is ridiculous. It isn't happening. The Rams aren't drafting Ty Simpson. No matter who connects us to the kid, we're not going to take him. And I was dead wrong. Absolutely wrong. So I don't want to do the same with the A.J. Brown rumors when they continue to persist. Again, go all the way back to March with Diana Rossini, who has many other things going on in her life right now that we're not going to get into. She kind of originated all of this, though, back when she was still working for The Athletic. She said A.J. Brown trade discussions are not dead. Last week, I was told the Rams discussed trading for Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown before dealing for corner Trent McDuffie. Dialogue slowed, but Los Angeles continues to monitor the status of the three-time Pro Bowler with interest. We'll see where both parties go from here. Again, that was back in March. The situation may have changed, but we know that this is something the Rams have been connected to. We even heard from Sean McVay about their interest in potentially moving Davante Adams to make it happen. This is nothing new around this Rams team. This is nothing new around this Rams team. Again, we've discussed it in a number of different ways. We've discussed the Davante Adams angle, which Sean McVay and Les Snead both acknowledged was a discussion that the Rams have. We've discussed, back when it was possible, trading our 2026 first for A.J. Brown. That was on the table as well. But on today's show, we are going to go through 3 new trade proposals for A.J. Brown. 3 trade ideas for A.J. Brown. But before we get into that, guys, I've got to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, and that is our friends over at America's #1 sports picks app, Prize Picks. Guys, if you love daily fantasy or you just want sports to be even more exciting when you're watching them than they already are, you've got to try out Prize Picks. And it's a great time to get started on Prize Picks, too. The NBA playoffs are underway. The baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better place to get in on all that action than with our friends at Prize Picks. And, guys, it is so easy to play with Prize Picks. All you have to do is pick 2 to 6 players. You're selecting more on their stat projections, whether you're picking from points, assists, rebounds, rebounds, hits, home runs, or strikeouts, they've got plenty of options from all your favorite sports. Plus, PrizePicks has awesome social features that allow you to easily tailor fade your friends or your favorite creators, including me and my producer, Mike. I'm Jackson Durham with no spaces. He's Mike Jaraputo with no spaces. And you guys could drop a follow on both of us and see all of our latest lineups, including this one that we've got going for tonight's basketball action. We're going with the more on Jalen Brunson, the more on James Harden, the more on Jarrett Allen, the more on Karl Anthony Towns, the more on Max Strus, and the less on OG Anunoby. So you guys can tail, you can fade, whatever you do, just do it with PrizePicks. And if you're new to PrizePicks, make sure you use our promo code. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with PrizePicks. The link clickable link to download the app is in the description and the comments below. As always, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to our discussion of the A.J. Brown trade. So, before we dive into the potential offers, I just kind of want to level set on something. Just like it was when we brought up the original proposal of trading a first, just like it's been from Mike Garafolo himself over the last couple of months when he told us, I think he gets moved. Today's Friday. It's got to happen in the next 2 days. Buckle up today on March 6th. Nothing is guaranteed here. Nothing is guaranteed around an A.J. Brown trade. That is not the point of today's video. I'm not here to tell you the Rams are definitely going to make a move for A.J. Brown, but I am here to tell you it's not impossible. It is something that I do think should be on Rams fans' radar, even as just kind of an off-the-chance possibility. It is out there. There is a chance. This team can be unpredictable. They will make big swings to go win. We know Les Snead said part of the thought process of drafting Ty Simpson was to free up future assets for trades. Let's see how that might play out. So we've got a couple of different offer structures. The first, I'm going to call it the first offer, and you will immediately see why. Because it is simply offering the Eagles your 2027 first-round draft pick in exchange for A.J. Brown. Would they do this? I do think so. I do think that they would make this trade. I think it's ultimately a very similar offer to the deal from New England. Maybe you got to tack on a 6th-round draft pick to beat out New England's offer. You could have those ticky-tack ends of the negotiations as well, but I probably wouldn't start here. I do think this could get it done, but this would not be my starting offer. This would actually be my starting offer for the Eagles. And I think very small chance they say yes to this. But I would start here because it's giving up significantly less draft value. There is a significant issue with going with this direction, though, because if you give up your 2nd and your 4th, you've got to also remember you don't have a 3rd. So you're out of the draft for basically the entirety of day 2 and early on in day 3 as well. It would be a very big, aggressive play to go get A.J. Brown and basically take yourself out of a draft class that is right now considered to be very strong. But again, I mean, predicting the strength of a draft class a year in advance is something that it has always been a little ridiculous to me. We seem to see these things shift, especially in the transfer portal era with guys deciding to come back to continue to get money. So who knows what the actual strength of the 2027 draft class will be. But just know, if you go with this route, you're out of it from rounds 2 through rounds 4 unless you were going to make a follow-up move. So how can you hold on to more of your draft capital and still get A.J. Brown? There are ways of doing it. The first is one you're not going to like. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Trading Davante Adams. Is this still on the table? I don't really know. But because it was to begin with, I don't think we can pretend like it's entirely impossible. But damn, this would be really, really bittersweet, to say the least. To say goodbye to Davante, who obviously has not been a Ram for very long, only 1 year in L.A., but his impact has been huge. Helped us go all the way to the NFC Championship last season, was easily the best red zone receiver in the NFL last season, and he missed some time as well. So I don't think Davante is out of his peak You know what I mean? I think he can still be that guy for the Rams again this season. I think he could be that guy again for the Eagles if this trade was to happen. So I think the Eagles would be getting significant value from a receiver-to-receiver exchange. The primary difference here is Davante going to end it after this season? Is he done after this season? Would he even want to be in Philadelphia, given how highly he's spoken of Los Angeles and playing with Matthew Stafford? Would this be a move that upsets him? Could this be a trade for Philly that mirrors maybe Jair Alexander, where the guy just immediately retires on you? Maybe they aren't interested in seeing that happen. I don't think it would go that far, but something you can't discredit given how much he's spoken about, hey, I want to end things with Matthew Stafford. But again, Sean McVay talked about this. This is something that the Rams have been open, they brought up. We have discussions all the time, he said. I wouldn't say discussed. We really talked about some different avenues of onboarding other players and how it might affect Davante. I've talked with Davante about that, and if we felt like it was best for our team, we would have done that, but we didn't think it was best for our team. So excited about being able to move forward with him. I think one of the things that there's a lot of narratives that are out there. Sorry, this weird sense there. What I do think is important is that we address the things that our players could potentially be affected with. And so I believe in dealing with those things directly. He's a grown man and he's a great player. And so at the end of the day, there's a lot of different things that go on. We're always looking at ways to upgrade our roster and feel like we could be as competitive as possible. There's discussions, there's dialogue, but it never got to that. There's scenarios that could have come up that we absolutely could have, and if we did feel like it was best for our team, then it would have happened, but we didn't. So essentially, that is a lot of coach speak, a lot of political speak to say we had some discussions about trading Davante Adams. We didn't ultimately do it because we didn't feel like it was best for the team. But just know, if you missed that back when it happened at the owners' meetings in March, this is not something the Rams have run away from. The Rams have put Davante Adams in trade negotiations for A.J. Brown in the past. Again, A.J. Brown was the topic of the conversation, so that was the context that McVay was referring to. So we know that that's the case. I think this offer could potentially get a deal done. You're giving up a fourth-round pick and Davante Adams. Maybe they would want you to push that draft pick value a little bit more, but you'd absolutely start here. And I do think that that could get a deal done. I think you'd be swapping Davante for a receiver in A.J. Brown. That, again, I don't know that I think A.J. Brown is an upgrade over Davante in terms of skill level, but the biggest thing the Rams get in terms of an upgrade here is a better contract that's more manageable and already committed to for the next 3 seasons. A.J. Brown would be under roster control on a much lower than you might expect cap hit for the next 2 seasons. I think his cap hit combined over the first 2 years would be close to $15 million before it kind of spikes towards $40 million in that 3rd season. So yes, it does jump up a lot, but it's incredibly manageable in the first 2 years. So let me know. Would you make this trade? Would you swap Davante Adams in a 4th for A.J. Brown? If yes, like today's video. If no, let me know why in the comment section below. Let me know why or what you think about this trade offer. I know it's going to be controversial with the Ramily. I'm not saying that it's something we should do, but I am saying that it's possible. Again, the Rams have considered trading Davante Adams for A.J. Brown in the past. So I don't think you can say it's all out of the realm of possibility that they would come back around to those negotiations. But lastly, I want to throw a surprise offer at you. This one I would say is the most remote possibility, but it is still possible. And that's that the Eagles add a second player named Byron Young to their roster by trading for Byron Young. Again, I think this is another deal that you could get done for a 4th-round pick and Byron Young for A.J. Brown. This would be an interesting move for Philadelphia because they wouldn't be replacing what they'd lost in terms of a premium receiver that they could rely on, but they would be adding another excellent edge rusher, and we know how much they value getting after the quarterback. We know how much that is important to Vic Fangio and to Howie Roseman's roster construction philosophy. It's built in the trenches, and then you go from there. Byron Young helps you do that. And from a Rams perspective, it also helps clear out some of this situation that we've discussed a good deal. So many of these guys need extensions. You've got 5 guys that want money likely to be in the 15 to 20 million range at the very least, with some of them looking for significantly more. Some of these guys aren't going anywhere. We know Puka's going to get his deal eventually. We know Kobe Turner's going to stick around. Warren McClendon and Steve Avila, Warren feels like a lock. Steve feels a little bit more questionable. But Byron Young, to me, and I hate to say this, he's just kind of always felt in a lot of ways like the odd man out in this equation. And when you look at the Rams' defensive line, and when you look at the roster construction that they have up front already, they've been able to get after the passer. And I think moving on from one of their many young pieces that have helped them do that isn't going to kill their ability to get after the quarterback. That you could have Tyler Davis step up. Larum Murchison has shown flashes when he's been able to be healthy. Jared Verse, I think, can take a big step in year 3. And again, if you don't move Byron Young in a trade, is it realistic that you could keep him anyway? I think you have to go back to that end of this equation. I know it's hard to move off of players who've been really productive for you and feel like they could potentially be a part of this equation long term, but you've got to weigh how many guys we do ultimately want to be part of this equation. That 2023 draft class was so good, it kind of creates a, oh no, my lobster's too buttery issue here where you just have too many good players to keep around. At the end of the day, some of these guys are going to end up playing for other teams in 2027. It's a matter of whether or not you get anything in return when that happens. I think that's something Rams fans have to keep on their radar. Whether or not it's a move for A.J. Brown, I do think a trade of one of these 2023 draft picks is likely in some fashion before the trade deadline of this year. But we'll continue to monitor all of these rumors around the Rams, around A.J. Brown, around anything that could possibly happen with this team, because that is what we do here on the Rams Report. We cover everything around the Rams. So make sure you lock in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you have not already and you made it to this point in today's video. We will see you next time. As always, let's go Rams.